This is a presentation about the Let's Talk program based on the Savage Factory, presented to you by Sean Amstutz, Ashley Hepler, Heather McIntyre, Jerry Mitchell, and James Wells. During a time when everyone thought America was at peace, there was a war going on right in our own backyard. It was a war that would lead to the self-destruction of the American automotive industry. A war that did more damage to the American worker than any foreign country could have done. It was an egocentric war. It was a war of greed, prejudice, and self-interest. The opposing sides both spoke English, both saluted the American flag, and were even from the same neighborhoods as each other. But one thing stood between them: a red jacket. You see, the red jacket symbolized power. It also symbolized tyranny on the battlegrounds, and these tyrants ruled with iron fists, and they ruled with no mercy. And this was no ordinary war. This was a war amongst men and women that were thought to have been on the same side, fighting against foreign invasion. But no, the foreign invasion predicament was but a slow burn compared to the heated battle that was already taking place where you'd least expect it, where Americans lauded themselves on leading the world, where teamwork and camaraderie is the backbone of success, where one envisions the definition of being a hard-working American. It's a place where bureaucracy reigned supreme and the Puritan ideals held strong, a place where ethical behavior took a backseat to monetary motivation, and a place where social status was dictated by jackets, clipboards, and the importance of the machine you ran relative to how bad its malfunction would hurt production. And where was this battle taking place, you ask? Right here on good old American soil in Cincinnati, Ohio, at the Sharonville Ford Motor Company transmission plant. And the brutal battle was against the hourly workers and middle management. You see, Ford started out in the late 1800s and evolved rather quickly, creating the assembly line in the early 1900s. But as most companies, products and management processes tend to evolve and progress with time, Ford's products progressed while its management practices lagged behind. The reason for this was management's attitude towards hourly employees and the company's stake in the automotive industry. That attitude created a constant struggle between the two groups, and it created a stagnated company. The Sharonville transmission plant was scientific management hard at work. Each employee had a specific task, and they did that simple task day in and day out. Frederick Taylor would have been proud. There was a daily goal to be met, and the company's MBO needed a major overhaul. You see, at Sharonville, they didn't use goal-setting theory to only motivate. They used it more to threaten each manager with the loss of their job if they didn't meet that goal. It didn't matter if the employees lacked the skills to meet the goal because they were improperly trained, or that the machines weren't operating properly because they didn't have the right parts. The only thing that management cared about was meeting that goal. And when those goals stopped being met due to foreign cars showing up on American streets, the Let's Talk program was started. The Let's Talk program was an attempt in the Savage Factory for Ford Motor Company to increase direct communication between hourly employees and management. At the Sharonville transmission plant, team morale was lacking, so the Let's Talk program was designed to increase confidence and let employees know that the company cared for them. It could have been a great way to provide job enrichment for the hourly employees. This was their chance to take on a management approach to their job and decide how their job should be performed. It was similar to a job diagnostic survey in the sense that it could have been a good way to identify the core dimensions most in need of redesign. With Japanese and German manufacturers on their heels, Ford needed a way to compete with their rivals. This program was in essence your average suggestion box scenario. Hourly employees were to put ideas in the boxes, ideas that the plant could improve upon, such as productivity, quality, and the work environment. These ideas could have been used to increase efficiency, therefore lowering costs to the company. Low costs were a major component in the foreign automotive industry's success and were going to be a major determinant on Ford's survival. The Let's Talk program was a cost-effective alternative to forming a task force. It allowed the company to generate new ideas without taking workers away from their daily responsibilities. Where the program fell apart was management feeling belittled by the fact that Ford was actually considering the thoughts and inputs of its hourly employees. Management felt that if they brought an idea from the hourly workers to their supervisors, then they would be penalized or even fired for not originally thinking of the idea themselves. The lack of middle management support and their sabotage of the program was a clear example of unethical decision making. They did not care if their actions caused harm to people in the organization or other people affected by the organization's activities. They only were concerned about what would benefit themselves. The middle management at Ford could have been thought of as suffering from groupthink. They showcased plenty of the symptoms. They had a belief in inherent morality of the group. They had collective rationalizations. They stereotyped the hourly employees. Group members showcased self-censorship, and there also was direct pressure on dissenters. All the symptoms were evident in the management meetings. Most of the managers, like Screaming Jim, did not think their employees were educated enough to develop new ways that the plant could run more efficiently. They blew off every suggestion and did not even consider them. They were more worried about their jobs being negatively affected by the program than actually making the plant a better place for everyone. These middle managers enjoyed the status quo and didn't like the thought of empowerment. This would force them to change the way they treat the employees and alter the way they behave for decades. It had the potential to be a much-needed change to the structure of the organization, and they felt it may expose their insignificance. With managers like this attempting to protect their own job instead of helping the organization grow, they were realistically hurting everyone. The company needed to go in another direction to avoid being put out of business by foreign manufacturers. The actions of the managers was causing organizational inertia. The managers wanted to do whatever it took to maintain the status quo. There were many organizational level impediments to change, and the most evident one here was power and conflict. The idea behind this impediment is that change usually benefits some people, functions, or divisions at the expense of others. This simple change of the Let's Talk program and the potential changes that could result from it caused power struggles and organizational conflict, which in turn slowed any progress that Ford could make in staving off the foreign competition. This was also a case of selective perception and retention, which is an individual level resistance to change. The idea behind selective perception and retention is that there is a general tendency for people to selectively perceive information consistent with their existing views of their organizations. Then when the change takes place, that individual will focus only on how it will personally affect them or their function or division. If they perceive few benefits, they likely will reject the change. The Let's Talk program was an opportunity for the Sharonville plant to show the people from up north that they were taking actions to better the facility and start competing within the global economy. Middle management never intended on using any of these suggestions from their employees, and instead utilized the opportunity to deceive upper management and negatively manipulate the situation. If the plant managers wanted to save their plant, they should have listened to the opinions and constructive feedback from their employees. Instead of using manipulation in a positive way to champion change, middle management used it to deter the possibility for change. They did their best to control the agenda by throwing out good suggestions and using coercive power to intimidate employees before they talked to upper management. They indirectly threatened employees with 4600s if they said too much to upper management. While the hourly employees had low task identity, this program could have helped them realize their high task significance, because if they assemble the transmission improperly, it could cause the car to malfunction, which could lead to a bad company reputation, profit losses, and even physical harm to the driver of the vehicle. With the foreign companies making cheaper, better quality vehicles, the hourly employees' task significance level had been raised. Middle management could have used this opportunity to increase the hourly employees' intrinsic motivation, which would have increased job satisfaction and could have had a domino effect on the success of the organization. What the Let's Talk program could have proved if given a chance was that if anyone knows how to make the plant productive and complete the jobs there efficiently and effectively, it's the hourly employees who do those jobs every day. The Let's Talk program made a strong case for the theory Y approach. The employees proved they were knowledgeable and, if given an opportunity, would do what is good for the organization. They made great recommendations and proved managers did not need to closely control their behavior. Unfortunately, middle management's Theory X approach stood in the way of this program being productive. When times are tough and an organization needs to rise and work together as a team, it is important for every worker to be on the same page. While hourly employees felt their suggestions were being given consideration, they were simply being set aside because of management's feelings of being threatened by the hourly employees' educated and helpful suggestions. Ford should have seen this and not just given up completely on the program. In most cases, management tries to work with their employees and help make the organization a better place to work. But in the case of the Savage Factory, it was the opposite. The corporate bureaucracy became a hindrance on progression and growth within the Sharonville transmission plant. The Let's Talk program was a good idea, but a good idea is nothing without effective implementation. If I were an executive of this company, I would have used positive manipulation to help both conflicting sides accept and embrace positive change.